a nice dinner. Went to go back to the base and wound up in the wrong place. So I was lost. Stopped and asked some directions from the kids, some kids at the side of the road. What they did was they took us right into a pretty rough part of town that happened to be right by their commandancia, their military headquarters. I knew better than to be down there, roadblocks and next right-hand turn, of course, was a roadblock. So manned by the Panamanian Defense Forces, the PDF. So they pulled us off to the side of the road, and I'm telling my wife, who hadn't been down there, this is her first day, hey, this is what it's going to be. They're going to ask us a bunch of questions, and then they're going to ask us again and again. We'll probably be here an hour to an hour and a half while they eventually get authority from someone to let us go. But they will, because that's what had happened to me the last time. And while we were there, another group of Americans came up to the roadblock. They slowed down, and instead of stopping, they actually gunned it through the roadblock. So at least 5 of the soldiers turned and fire at the car. Young Army 02 lieutenant in the back seat took a round in the back and died. He was dead when they got there. The driver took a round in the foot. So now things started to get a little bit more intense.
In another incident, a Navy officer and his wife were detained. He beaten and threatened with death. She threatened sexually.
Another American serviceman also threatening that man's wife. Strong public support for a reprisal was all but guaranteed.
Our boat crew was lagging Bravo and Gulf Platoon, and we were going to be taking just the eastern side of the runway, so we're all running up there, and I remember seeing rounds skipping across the tarmac in front of us. What was going on is there was one hangar on the western side, and then some guys from Gulf Platoon were yelling, "Get out of here!" and we were telling them to get out of there, and so finally, all of a sudden, the shooting started. And the intensity of the firefight was like nothing I've ever seen before. There was, 3 platoons all on line, all lighting them up, lobbing 203s into the hangar, and like 5 M60s all on line, just to hammer down at the same time, and it was crazy. It was intense. The ground was shaking. And right as we get online, they called a ceasefire, right? What happened was, there was like 4 Panamanians. These guys were like Noriega's bodyguards. They were Israeli-trained anti-terrorist team called the UESAT. They were in the hangar, but they had one of their guys was up on the 2nd floor shooting out a window. And that's the guy that shot all our guys. We had 4 dead, 8 wounded. And we finally called ceasefire, and I'm looking around, it was like a bus accident. There was people laying all over the place. 3 o'clock that next afternoon, the Rangers finally came in, and they took over the airfield, and then we left. But there was sitting there at 3 o'clock in the morning going, how'd that happen? We're Navy SEALs, that's not supposed to happen to us, Well, they knew we were coming, all right? It was on a runway, there was no cover and concealment, and we had superior firepower, But one guy gave us as many casualties as 3 platoons gave those guys. And that guy got away. He got out the back and got away.
Spec War community, particularly the detailer and Margaret. The detailer was then Lieutenant Commander Joe McGuire, eventually Vice Admiral McGuire, and Margaret Fuller. They kind of assessed the situation and said, hey, just come up to DC, and I was Margaret's sidekick for a few months while I figured out what I was going to do. And I've always appreciated that response from Spec War, and it represents, I think, one of the strengths of our community is that, our people are treated as people and not as, just numbers or, we have a conscience, we have a heart, and my wife and I were definitely recipients of that.